Good afternoon, children. I welcome you all to a brand new episode of EduSat. And guess what? Today I'll be talking about a wonderful poetry entitled Village Song. And guess, the poetry is written by whom? By our very own Nightingale of India, Mrs. Sarojini Naidu. Why was she called the Nightingale of India? Where was she born? And who her parents were? Don't you want to know about it? So let me tell you a few words about our very own Sarojini Naidu. Sarojini Naidu was a freedom fighter. From a very early age, she had an interest in poetry. She was born in Hyderabad in the year 1879 on the 13th of February. Her father's name was Dr. Aghornath Chattopadhyay and her mother's name was Varaha Sundari. Like I told you, from a very early age she had developed a liking towards poetry. Later on, she was known as the Nightingale of India. And when our nation became free in 1947, she was appointed as the governor of the United Provinces, now called as Uttar Pradesh. She died on the 2nd of March 1949. Well, these were some facts about our Sarojini Naidu. Now coming back to the topic. Why is the topic entitled as such? Have you ever wondered about it? Why a particular title has been given? Every poetry, or rather every poet, gives a title which befits the theme or the content of the poetry. Let me first show you a few images and then you will have a clearer idea why the title of the poetry is such. Now, this is a typical rural environment, children. What do you see? You see a bullock cart, you see paddy fields, you see coconut trees, you see rising sun, and what else? A very beautiful, typically dressed village girl. And how is she dressed? She is clad a veil around her face. Why is it so? Have you ever wondered why they keep shying away from people like this? They have an inherent innocence about them. They are guileless rather. That is why they shy away from people, and because they have a deep sense of culture embedded within their hearts, they do not believe in unnecessary skin show. Hence, the veil on their face. Now, this particular poetry, village song, is, as I told you, the feelings that a mother has during her daughter's wedding. And what the feelings are, the poet has tried to explicitly explain in 4 stanzas. Now children, make it a point while I explain, note everything down in a notebook. Keep a pad or notepad next to you so that you will have an opportunity to note down the explanation of each stanza, which will help you for your examination purpose from now on. Let me explain this stanza one by one, and I am very sure you will find the explanations very simple and easy to remember. Let's go to the first stanza. I'll read out the first stanza. Honey child, whither are you going? Would you cast your jewel all to the breezes blowing? Would you leave the mother who on golden grain has fed you? Would you grieve the lover who is riding forth to wed you? Now, so very interesting. What do you gather from this particular stanza? The mother is so much in love with her daughter, and see the terms of endearments she uses. Honey child, Normally, when we love a person, a child rather, we use such terms. Sweetheart, cute heart, honey child. These are some of the terms that one normally uses when addressing her child. So also in this case, the mother is addressing her daughter in such a way. She is telling, or rather asking her daughter, my dear child, what are you thinking? Where would you go? What do you want to do? What are your intentions? So, simply if we analyze the first two lines, a mother in a very sweet, gentle, mild manner is asking her daughter what she intends. Now, as I start explaining more and more, you will understand what the first stanza really means. Now, if we can move on to the second slide, I'd like to show you something. This is the explanation, or rather what the first stanza means. The stanza, as I told you, is set in a rural household where a marriage ceremony is about to begin. Such ceremonies are generally marked by a lot of mirth and merrymaking. The bride is bedecked with beautiful attire and nice ornaments to look her best. The rituals that precede the marriage are the bride's mother's responsibility. In this case, the girl, perhaps because of her tender age, childlike simplicity, or an abiding love for nature, seems to be unwilling to be chained to the marital bond. Okay? Now, such things happen when girls tend to get married at a tender age. Things are quite natural. Now, the mother is distraught when her marriage is fixed and the daughter is not yet ready to get married. You can just imagine the mental state or the stress that a mother would be going through. Same also in this case. And so her daughter's indifferent attitude appears very stressful to her. She keeps on asking her daughter if she is determined to abort the marriage and disappoint the bridegroom who is soon to arrive. She reminds the nonchalant daughter about the affection that she had been showered on when she was a toddler. She draws her daughter's attention to the beautiful jewelry which she will be wearing for this particular occasion. So, like I said, the mother is very stressed out. Why? Because of her daughter's attitude. The daughter is childish, she is not mature, she doesn't understand the value of a marital bond, and probably she is not ready to get married. That is what we gather from the first stanza. And this is a cause of stress to her mother, who keeps on reminding her that marriage is a beautiful thing because the daughter would be dressed up beautifully in beautiful ornaments and she would very soon enter into a most wonderful phase of her life. But the daughter seems very nonchalant. She is not agreeable to listen to what her mother has to explain. Rather, she keeps on continuing with her childish, indifferent attitude which worries her mother to the hilt. We see beautifully arranged dishes. What are these dishes? These are the dishes which we find in weddings. Normally we see a lot of stuff. Normally we see a lot of dishes being made. People enjoy the feast. People enjoy the good food and they bless the bride before they go. What do we see? Generally, in a wedding, we see a lovely bride. We enjoy good food and we meet our relatives and have fun. So what the girl is told by her mother, that is what she was particularly advising her daughter. You would be dressed beautifully. There will be lots of good food to eat. People will come and congratulate you. And this is a phase of transformation every girl has to undergo. So will you abort the marriage just like that? Will you not get married to the handsome groom who is coming to take you? Will you not wear the wonderful clothes that I have purchased for you? Will you not adorn yourself with the pretty jewelry that we have purchased? So these are the questions, or rather the greedy attitude that the mother shows in order to guile the girl into getting married, so that you children have a clearer idea. This is a fine, handsome bridegroom. And how is he coming? On a horse, bedecked in beautiful clothes, on his white horse, coming to take his bride. So that in older English literature, we had the image of a Prince Charming. That image of Prince Charming is generally given to all girls when they become of marriageable age. That is the image that mothers, grandmothers, aunts, any female relative you come across, that is the image you are fed with, or rather you are accustomed to. Such a thing will happen in your life and such a person will come to take you one day. You will enter the most wonderful phase of your life and so many things to go along with it. Okay, there is something that you all know. Now, this girl is indifferent. She is not getting married. Now, let's see what happens. Mother mine, to the wild forest I am going, whereupon the champa boughs, the champa buds are blowing. To the coil-haunted river isles, where lotus lilies glisten, the voice of the fairy folk are calling me. Oh, listen. This girl is a very poetic girl rather. She is not interested in worldly affairs. She has a wild, carefree spirit and she is not willing at any cost to sacrifice her independence and enter into married life. She feels she is not ready for matrimony. The reason, the explanation, we see in the second stanza. The daughter replies that the woods beckon her. She wants to escape to the forest, to be able to enjoy the many sweet sights and sounds there. The champa tree is laden with beautiful yellow blossoms. The aroma is irresistible. The river flowing by the village has tiny islands that are home to the coil. The lotus and the lilies add charm to the surroundings. The fairy folks sing their songs. All these mean far more enjoyable to the girl rather than the mundane pleasures of a married life. So children, you're somewhat clear by now. The girl is not ready to enter into matrimony because she finds a life in her village much more enchanting. The village has a very fairy tale like woods. And what does she find in the woods? Champa trees. I'm sure all of you would have seen a champa tree in your village. So this is an image of the champa flower. Below you see the flowers in full bloom. These flowers are sweet smelling flowers and are often plucked by people to worship gods and goddesses. So here we have an image of the champa tree which is in full bloom. We see the wonderful champa blossoms and just look at them. No wonder the girl would be enticed by such beautiful flowers. As it is, she is a girl who is not mature enough. She is a girl who doesn't understand the practicalities of everyday life. She does not understand a mundane married life means that she'll have to transform herself in some way or the other. So naturally, her mind or a poetic mind is bent towards the beauties of nature. And what does she describe? She describes about champa blossoms. She describes about tiny islands which she sees in the woods, which are home to numerous birds and animals. She talks about birds. Here is an example of a bird that inhabits those islands. You see the champa blossoms, you see the islands, and see how pretty the island is. The islands are home to a variety of musical birds, especially the koel. You know, the blackbird or the koel, we find it in summers near our gardens, near forests, and it would be cooing in such a beautiful tune that it is no less than a song itself. I'm sure all of you have heard how the koel coos, or rather the cuckoo, the blackbird. It's known by different names throughout the world, but this is what the girl finds enchanting. And below we have an image of the island. Okay, so the girl is very, very enchanted by these particular things that she encounters in the woods. We know another thing about the girl. She is not materialistic at all. First of all, she is immature. Secondly, she is not materialistic. Third, a life beyond the mundane life that we are accustomed to beckons her. She has a poetic sense of mind as well. Her sense and sensibilities, even though she is immature, are highly developed. You know, even in a girl of this age, probably Sarojini Naidu is writing about a girl who is no less than 15 to 16 years of age. But in such a young girl, you find that her poetic abilities are heightened. She is not an ordinary girl who will listen to her mother, who will stick to the course of a mundane domestic life, and neither is she interested in other materialistic things that her mother tries to tempt her with. So the first and second stanza explains what the mother and the daughter converse to each other about, and in the subsequent stanzas we will see what happens and what is the real reason why the daughter doesn't want to get married.
उठारे बल्ला उठारे बल्ला उठारे बल्ला उठारे हो उठा बल्ला रे এই মনে ভরি জোশ আজি হবা ফেস টু ফেস হব বল পছে রেস নবা জিতিবার দেশ সবু সাহি গড়ি সহରରେ হকির পিবলে ঘুমিব ওড়িশা আজি ভাব হল্লারে बल्ला उठारे
विश्व हॉकी लीग 2017 ओडिशा को आपण मानकु स्वागत।
ईश्वरଙ୍କ सृष्टि ए सुंदर प्रकृति ए प्रकृति भितरे आमे गढ़ीछु नेचर कैंप। आसंतु ओडिशार विमुक्त प्रकृति भितरे हजाई दियंतु निजकु। बुक करंतु एठी www.ecotourodisha.com।
अनुसूचित जाति और जनजातिर छात्र छात्री माने सहरांचल रही महाविद्यालय वैषयिक तथा वृत्तिगत अनुष्ठान मानकर सुविधार पाठ पढ़िबा पई मान्यवर मुख्यमंत्री श्रीयुक्त नवीन पट्टनायक जुगान्तकारी योजना आकांक्षा। एही योजना माध्यम सहरांचल रही पाठ पढ़िबा पई समस्त सुविधा सह हॉस्टेल निर्माण करा जायछि एवं छात्री मानकर रहिबा और खाइबार सुबंदोबस्त करा जायछि। खूब शीघ्र राज्यर अन्य प्रमुख सहरांचल एही भली सुविधा सुजोग जोगाई दिया जीव जनजाति छात्री मानंकु। आकांक्षार सुजोग नियंतु, निजर उच्च शिक्षा अभिलाष को साकार करंतु।
Now children, in the previous two slides I had explained what the content of the poetry is about. Now, moving on to the new content or to the new stanzas, we will show you some images that will give you a clearer idea of the poetry. What do you see here? Woods, lush green forest rather. Look at the first image clearly. What do you see? A lush greenery image, and the second is those of mountains. The third again we see trees, and the fourth a brook amongst the trees. So these give you an idea of the lush green environment in which the girl grew up. The girl, as I told you, is a girl with heightened sense and sensibilities. She grew up in a tiny village, but her poetic abilities are marvelously developed. She knows how to describe the little things that enchant her. You may be very surprised, but girls at these age don't even know to differentiate things from one another. And here we have this wonderful girl who is describing the fantasies of nature in the most wonderful manner. She is a very different girl. Now, when she describes about the enchantments that the forest is holding for her, she tells us about birds, she tells us about trees, she tells us about flowers, and in the very last line you will notice that she is talking about fairy folks. Now children, all of you would have read about these particular mythological creatures who are so very lovable. They are called as forest folks. I am sure all of you would have heard the very famous story about Thumbelina, Tom Thumb. Yes? So these are the very beautiful childhood fables that we've heard about forest folks. She says, "Mother, forest folks also enchant me. Apart from the flowers, apart from the river, apart from the brook, apart from the koel or the cuckoo bird, the forest folks also enchant me. I'm simply in love with nature. I'm simply in love with the forests of my village, or I am simply in love with myself. I do not want to get entangled into a mundane domestic married life." That is what she wants to explain to her mother. That is approximately the gist, or rather the summary of the first two stanzas that I have been able to explain to you, or rather I am describing to you. And to support my explanation, I have shown a variety of images so that you'll have a clearer image in your mind. Find out from this stanza. Let me read it out to you first. Honey child, the world is full of pleasure, of bridal songs and cradle songs and sandal scented leisure. Your bridal robes are in the loom, silver and saffron and glowing. Your bridal cakes are on the hearth. Oh, whither are you going? She, is very distraught with her daughter's attitude. She is not able to find out how will I convince my little daughter to get married. She is a very simple mother. She has been raised up in a village. She has raised up her daughter to be simple also. She has given her a very good upbringing. But now when her daughter is grown up and she is ready to enter into the folds of matrimony, she comes up with the strangest of explanations. She is telling her mother, "I'm not at all interested to get married. And please, mother, don't force me to get married." Then her mother is also trying her best to tell her why she needs to get married. Because she tells her, "You will be decked up in beautiful clothes. You will have beautiful jewelry. You will have a lovely bridegroom who is coming to take you. And you will have lots of people who will come to enjoy your sumptuous feast." But the girl denies all of it. She says, "I am much more enchanted by another mode of life." And what is that? The forest. The forest with its birds, with its fairy folks, with its pixies, with its elves, with its flowers, hold a greater calling than a mundane domestic life. That is what she tries to say. Now we move on to the explanation of the third stanza. Now, let me read it out to you first. Children, you can find it displayed on your screens, and I would like you to note it down in your notepads as well. The mother finds the daughter's fantasy to be nothing but silly. She reminds her about the many happinesses of worldly life. The bridal songs are sweet and joyful. Motherhood brings fulfillment and pleasure. The bliss of marital leisure is something rare and irresistible. The saris have been woven with meticulous care in silver and saffron. Elaborate meals are being made ready. Saying all these things, the mother again beseeches her daughter to stay back and be at the center stage of festivities. So children, what did you see? Again the mother is trying her best to tempt her daughter. She is telling her about the bliss of marital life. She tells her, married life is a happy life. Married life is a content life. And how does she portray that marriage is a beautiful thing? She talks about a lot of things that will be happening during the wedding. For example, very beautiful saris have been woven for her. And what is the color of those saris? Silver and saffron. Now, here is the beautiful sari. Particularly this is not saffron in color, but it has a silvery tint. The girl's sari is somewhat like this. A typical Indian sari is something that all village girls, or rather girls of the rural environment, wear when they get married. It's a very graceful costume. Okay, so the mother tries to tell the girl, I have bought very pretty saris from you in colors of green and saffron from the weaver, and a variety of delicious sweetmeats are being prepared for your wedding. You will enjoy marital bliss when you get married. And after all, married life is a happy life. So I beseech you, my dear daughter, please give up such strange thoughts that married life is a nuisance, married life is not meant for me, or I am not marriage material. Please take these things out of your mind. Do not think about such things and just think about enjoying marital bliss. That is what she tries to explain in very simple words. The mother is feeling very distraught. She is simply trying to tempt her daughter, putting in the best of her efforts. How can I tempt her daughter? How can you tempt girls normally? Girls like pretty clothes, girls like pretty jewelry, girls are obviously attracted towards all the pretty things. So she tries her best to tempt her daughter with all of these things. Pretty saris, the marital bliss that the daughter does not know about, she tries explaining that to her in very simple terms. And she further goes on to say that you have to be at the center stage of activities. It's your wedding. People will come to see you, to bless you. You will have a lovely bridegroom. And most of all, you should enjoy the day. She also wants her daughter to enjoy that particular day itself. But it seems the daughter is not interested at all. I would not say that the girl is immature. Rather, I'd put it that her sense and sensibilities are too heightened. She is not a normal 15-year-old girl. She is somebody very different. She is somebody with a carefree spirit. And that carefree spirit does not allow her to be chained into matrimony. She feels that there is a world beyond. She feels that matrimony is not her thing. She needs to go into an environment where she finds peace. And that is what she wants to convey to her mother in very simple terms. The girl is somewhat adamant as well, don't you think? Her mother is trying to tempt her with so many things, and this girl, nonchalant, indifferent, and rather adamant as she appears, is denying to every single thing with the wittiest of explanations. Now, Her mother also tells her that a lot of cakes are being made. Children usually love sweet cakes, sweet meats, and so on. So, here we see a variety of sweet meats that have been made for the daughter's wedding. And the mother is trying her best to tell her that, see, my dear child, so many things have been made for your wedding. So, please do get married. She is trying her best to cajole, or rather tempt her daughter into marriage. So far we have understood 3 stanzas. I hope you've understood each explanation pretty well. And after a while, we'll be moving on to the next stanza, where you will see the actual purport of the poem, or what the poet actually wishes to convey.
भूस्थଳର ଆଉ ଜଳଭାଗ ଠିକ କହିଛ। ଆରେ ତମେ ବାହାରକୁ ଗଲନି କ'ଣ ତମ ଦେହ ଭଲ ନାହିଁ?
ନାଇଁ ଦିଦି, ଆପଣ ଗଲେ ମୁଁ ସବୁ ଫ୍ୟାନ୍ ସୁଇଚ୍ ବନ୍ଦ କରିକି ଯିବି।
ଆରେ ବା, ଭଲ ଅଭ୍ୟାସ ତ।
ହଁ ଦିଦି, ପିଲାଦିନରୁ ବାପା ଆମକୁ ଶିଖେଇଛନ୍ତି, ଆମ ଘରେ ବି ଏଇଆ, ଆମର ତ ଅଭ୍ୟାସ ପଡ଼ିଗଲାଣି। ଅଯଥା ଫ୍ୟାନ୍ ବୁଲୁଥିବା କି ଆଲୋ ଜଳୁଥିବା ଦେଖିଲେ ହାତଟା ଆପେ ଆପେ ଚାଲିଯାଏ ବନ୍ଦ କରିଦେବାକୁ।
ତମ ବାପା ତମକୁ ସଜାଡ଼ି ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି। ମୁଁ ଭାବୁଛି ତମେ ଆଉ ମୁଁ ମିଶି ତମ ସାଙ୍ଗମାନଙ୍କୁ ବି ସଜାଡ଼ି ଦେବା। କ'ଣ କହୁଛ? ହେଲା।
ଅଗ୍ରଣୀ ଘରୋଇ ଶିକ୍ଷାନୁଷ୍ଠାନମାନଙ୍କରେ ଛାତ୍ରଛାତ୍ରୀମାନଙ୍କୁ ଗୁଣାତ୍ମକ ଶିକ୍ଷାର ସୁଯୋଗ ଦେବା ପାଇଁ ମାନ୍ୟବର ମୁଖ୍ୟମନ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଶ୍ରୀଯୁକ୍ତ ନବୀନ ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଆରମ୍ଭ କରାଯାଇଛି ଅଭିନବ ଯୋଜନା ଅନ୍ୱେଷା। ପ୍ରତିବର୍ଷ 5,000ରୁ ଉର୍ଦ୍ଧ୍ୱ ଅନୁସୂଚିତ ଜାତି ଓ ଜନଜାତିର ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ 17 ଗୋଟି ଜିଲ୍ଲାର ସହରାଞ୍ଚଳରେ ସ୍ଥାପିତ ଅଗ୍ରଣୀ ଘରୋଇ ଶିକ୍ଷାନୁଷ୍ଠାନମାନଙ୍କରେ ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ ସୁଯୋଗ ଦେବା ସହିତ ରହିବା, ଖାଇବା, ଟ୍ୟୁସନ୍ ଫି, ପୋଷାକ, ବହିପତ୍ର ଓ ଯାତାୟାତ ବାବଦକୁ 44,000 ଟଙ୍କା ଯୋଗାଇ ଦିଆଯାଉଛି। ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କ ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ଅନ୍ୱେଷା ଯୋଜନାରେ ସାମିଲ କରନ୍ତୁ, ତାଙ୍କ ଭବିଷ୍ୟତ ତିଆରି କରନ୍ତୁ।
ଏହି ଶିକ୍ଷା ବର୍ଷରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା ରାଜ୍ୟର 100ଟି ବ୍ଲକ ହେଡକ୍ୱାର୍ଟର୍ସରେ 100ଟି ଆଦର୍ଶ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟ। ଆମର ପ୍ରିୟ ମୁଖ୍ୟମନ୍ତ୍ରୀ ନବୀନ ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକଙ୍କର ଏହି ସ୍ୱପ୍ନ ଶିକ୍ଷା କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ ନୂଆ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ। କେନ୍ଦ୍ରୀୟ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟର ଢାଞ୍ଚା, CBSE ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ଶିକ୍ଷା, ଓଡ଼ିଶା ସରକାରଙ୍କର ଆଉ ଏକ ଅଧ୍ୟାୟ। ଗ୍ରାମାଞ୍ଚଳର ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସବୁ ବ୍ଲକରେ ହେବ ଆଦର୍ଶ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟ।
Children, in the previous slides, we had noted how the mother is trying her best to beseech her daughter to get married, right? And now we will have a clear vision, or rather a mental vision, what are the things that she is trying to describe to entice the girl. Now moving on to the next slide, we will see many visual images. I'd want you to make a mental note of all these images so that you will have a clearer picture of the poetry. Now these are musicians. What do you see in a traditional Indian wedding? There's a lot of dance and music involved. So these are traditional musicians. These musicians play their traditional instruments, and in a village wedding, music is of supreme importance. So music is of supreme importance in a rural wedding. And now, what is the next thing that the mother stresses on? She tells the girl that you will become a mother yourself one day. Once you experience marital bliss, you will know how happy married life can be. And there is nothing strange in this transformation. All girls of the universe someday have to go through this transformation. And you will enjoy marital bliss. You will one day become a mother to a wonderful baby that you would be giving birth to. And that is one of the things that married life brings to you, the joy of parenthood. No one can describe the joy of becoming a mother more than a woman herself. It brings fulfillment to your life. It attaches an identity. When you are a mother, you don't need anything else in the world. That is what the mother tries to explain. She also loves her daughter. Look at the terms of endearments she is using for her daughter. Honey child, my dear child, my lovely child. There are so many endearing terms that she is using for her daughter. That shows the great love and affection that she has for her daughter also. It is not that her mother does not love her daughter. No, it's not like that. Mother also loves her daughter. And she is trying to put the same thing into her mind, that once you become a mother, you will know how good it feels to become a parent, how good it feels to raise another human being who is so close to your heart, who is a part of your flesh and bones, who will be a part of your life rather. That is what she tries to explain in the most simplest of way. She tells her, you will experience marital bliss, you will experience motherhood. There are so many wonderful things that you are going to experience in life. So why not say yes to your wedding? These are the things that she wants to put, or rather instill, into her daughter's mind. Okay? So now in the next slide we also have a variety of images. What do we see? What do we see in the next consecutive slide? We see a lot of things that are happening, but let us first go through it. The bridal songs and cradle songs have cadences of sorrow. The laughter of the sun today, the wind of death tomorrow. Far sweeter sound the forest notes where forest streams are falling. O mother mine, I cannot stay, the fairy folk are calling. Again, this girl and her mythical fairy folks. We do not know exactly what she is trying to say. Some of us may think that the girl is out of her mind. Do you ever encounter fairy folks in real life? No, we don't. Do you exactly see ghosts in real life? No, we don't. How is she talking about such fairy folks and mythological creatures that do not have any existence? Maybe she is immature enough, she doesn't want to get married, and that is why she is wanting to avoid getting married. That is something that will come into our minds. But when we dive or delve deeper into the poetry, we see that she is offering very witty explanations rather. What does she say? She says, there is grief in life, there is happiness in life. Life is the best teacher, she wants to convey to her mother. And how can I find myself chained by a married life to which I am not willing to give in? Rather, I spend my time and my life in the enchanted forests of my village, where the streams are flowing, where there is a brook, where there is a river, where there are wonderful birds, where we see a variety of flowers. I'd rather spend my life there, rather being chained into matrimony. And again she speaks of fairy folks. In the last two consecutive stanza, children, I am very sure you would have noticed about her talking of fairy folks. And as I told you, it may appear very illogical to you at times. But certain folklores do exist which describe about pixies, which describe about dwarfs, which describe about a variety of fairy folks that do exist. I don't know whether you would have heard the very peculiar tale of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This is out of the context, but I would like you all to know about this particular short story. It was about a very pretty girl called Snow White, and she was lost in a forest. She did not have any friends, and she met 7 little fairy folks or 7 dwarfs. Grumpy, Snowy, Sleepy, Tubby, very cute names they had. And these forest folks or dwarfs helped Snow White to encounter the witch that she was running away from, And ultimately, when she got married to her Prince Charming, like the Prince Charming we spoke of a few minutes before, the dwarfs enjoyed at the wedding, and they gave her a very happy time that she spent with them, and she enjoyed lots of things with these fairy folks. So fairy folks do exist in medieval English literature. We do find about how people describe about fairy folks, and that is what this girl is also trying. Maybe she has encountered some of them, you never know, but to us they are mythology, they are folklores, but you never know. So the cadences of the setting, like she gives a plethora of images, she describes it in a very visual way. She says, I see the setting sun, I see the flowing brook, I see the chirping bird. Why on earth are you trying to distract me from these things and push me into matrimony? I simply am not marriage material. So please, for heaven's sake, do not distract me from such things, and do not ask me to get married. Even though marriage may hold a lot of good things, like her mother described, green and silver saris, gold ornaments, delicious sweetmeats, a wonderful bridegroom, the bliss of motherhood, the marital bliss, but she is not simply interested.
राज्यर अनुसूचित जाति और जनजातिर छात्र छात्री मानक शिक्षा पाई निरंतर उद्यमरत मान्यवर मुख्यमंत्री श्रीयुक्त नवीन पट्टनायक दूरदृष्टि संपन्न प्रचेष्टा जोगु आज राज्य तथा राज्य बाहर पढ़ुवा मैट्रिक परवर्ती 3,24,000 रु ऊर्ध्व छात्र छात्री मानक छात्रवृत्ति जगाई दिया जाउथबा बेले प्राय प्रतिवर्ष 18 लाख रु अधिक छात्र छात्री को 1,055 कोटी रु अधिक टंका छात्रवृत्ति आकार दिया जाउछि। छात्र छात्री मानक पई अनुदान प्राप्त विद्यालय गुड़िकरे ट्यूशन फी और बोर्ड परीक्षा फी मध्य छाड़ करा जाइछि। पिला माने ठीक समय छात्रवृत्ति आवेदन करंतु, निरंतर शिक्षा बजाय रखंतु।
In the previous slides, children, I told you the intentions of the girl is quite clear. She doesn't want to get married. So, let's see what the subsequent slides have to say. We all know in the fourth stanza, the bride seems very unimpressed. She discerns sorrow and misery that invariably mar the happiness of marriage. Like a saint with profound wisdom, the daughter says that all the joys of life are transitory. They come and go, giving place to suffering and disappointment. So, what do we see? She feels a life in the lap of nature gives enduring happiness. The charm of the woods never disappears. The calling of the forest is pristine and pure. The brook in the forest falls relentlessly. They are a treat to the eyes. Narrating all these things to her mother, the daughter says she is leaving home for the wilderness of the forests. So this is something very shocking, and none of you, I am sure, would have anticipated this particular ending. What does this end say? The girl, adamant as she was, now tells her mother, like a saint with profound wisdom, I have come to realize two specific things. Happiness and sorrow are a part of life. Secondly, I am not meant to be entangled in chains of a matrimonial domestic life. Third, and the most important thing, the beauties of nature attract me too much. The forest, the brooks, the birds, the flowers, they give me peace and solace. And it is to that forest I will ultimately go. It is where my heart finds peace. It is that place which I call home. She understands the beauty of nature, and it is in the lap of nature she wishes to reside. She talks about sunrise and sunset. Now see, the wonderful glow of the rising or the setting sun that is casting a blanket of rays. See how wonderful does it look? A cascade of yellow honey flowing. That is how the impression you get. And this enchants the girl to such an extent that she is not at all willing to give up such scenes and sights for the mere sake of getting married. She is simply enticed, or rather enchanted, by the ways of a forest life. She feels the world will not understand her. She feels even her mother is cajoling her to get into matrimony, to get married, and she, being her biological mother, does not understand the yearnings that the heart of the girl holds. She is not interested in her bridegroom. She is not interested in pretty clothes. She is not interested in delicious food. But what attracts her is nature. It is there where she finds peace of mind, peace of heart, or rather, like I wish to put it, she finds or feels eternal bliss. Wonderful are the creations of Mother Nature, is not it? And the girl takes a lot of pain in describing each fantastic natural thing that she would have witnessed in her small span of life. It is sad, but in a way I feel it is profound also. The views, the sights, the scenes, everything attracts her. Now we just saw a sunset or a sunrise. The next image we will see will clarify our vision more and more. In the subsequent slide, we also have another image. And if you look at it closely, I am sure you will know what it is. Now children, all the things that you would have witnessed accumulate in your mind, and you would now have a clear image of what the poet wishes to convey. We will see in the subsequent slides what is to come, and that will give you a clearer image. Here you see, we see a lot of trees, coconut trees, palm trees, the sandy beach, and somebody strolling away. So, in the next consecutive slide, we find a brook. We see the brook resplendently flowing down in a forest environment. You see how wonderful it looks? Trees all around, blue water running over pebbles. They just provide you serenity. They just give you peace. They just give you a lot of happiness. In the next slide, we also have an image. And what is this? This is a wedding. You see how everybody is enjoying, but quite the contrary to its nature. This girl had no intention of getting married. She was not happy as this particular girl which we see on screen. She was not happy to be given good clothes. She was not happy with good jewels, not happy with good food. These things did not attract her at all. In the next subsequent slide, we have another interesting visual. And what is that? We see a typical village environment. I have been talking to you about villages all along. And see, this is a typical village environment. We see farm animals. We see a typical rural woman carrying a pot of water on her head, and a typically thatched house that we come across in the villages of India. A lot of thatched houses, but you see how peaceful the image looks. Not like the humdrum and monotonous life of the daily city that you see, the cities that you people live in, I live in. It's something of a very quiet, calm, away from the general monotony that we see in these visuals. This is a bullock cart with thatched houses, all placed in a rural environment. Now a series of visuals will follow. What next? Again a rural environment with women plying on roads with their farm animals. What the next visual would be? This is something very interesting, the brook. This is what the girl describes. This is what the girl wishes to talk to you. And this is what life is. Life is like a brook, like Oscar Wilde says. It never stays, it's never constant. And life is your greatest teacher. So I hope, children, all of you have understood this poetry pretty well. The village song written by Sarojini Naidu. I wish that you have understood each and every stanza, which I have explained in very simple and explicit terms. And I hope that you will not have any further difficulty in understanding this wonderful poetry from your point of view. Everybody has a different viewpoint. This is my point of view. I would like all of you to incorporate your personal viewpoints while framing your critical analysis of the poetry. So, since the program is now almost done, I have completed my part. I have explained to you in the simplest way possible. Again, I'll see you in another EduSat episode with a fresh poetry. Right now, we sign off, and we hope that all of you have understood very clearly the poetry village song. Thank you.
आज आमे दशम श्रेणीर तृतीय अध्याय जो विषयटी अच्छी मृत्तिका संबल ए मृत्तिका संबल विषय आज आमे आलोचना करिबा।